good afternoon, and welcome back to the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast Season 4 Mythbusters. We are here recording episode 5, which is busting the myth that kids are resilient, and so they don't have big feelings, and that we don't have to worry about how they feel about things because they're just so resilient. So we're here to talk about how important social emotional development is for our youngest learners. And we have 3 amazing guests and 2 students today. So I'm going to prompt everyone to be able to introduce themselves. So let me start with my student, Leecy. Oh, go ahead again, Leecy. You were frozen for a second.
Practicum student. Okay, my name's Leecy. I'm a practicum student at HCC, and I'm doing my practicum at Arcadia Nature Preschool, and it's all outdoors. So everything is outside, and it's super fun. There's so much learning that happens.
I love it. Thanks for being here, Leecy. And my other student today is Linsday.
Hi, my name is Linsday. I work at the Chicopee Child Development Center, and I'm also doing my practicum here. We are a child-centered group that we work indoor and outdoor.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Linsday.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We have 3 special guests today. Let me start with Marcia. Marcia's a returning guest.
Hi, I'm Marcia Gadson Harris. I do family child care in Springfield. I've been doing it for 39 years, and I am a passionate learner for social emotional, spreading a guiding hand to parents, educators, as well as children.
That's great. Thank you for your work, Marcia. We can't wait to hear more. And David.
Oh, great to be with you all. My name is David. I'm the literacy educator at the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art in Amherst, Mass. I've been here for 5 years, was a preschool teacher for 8 years in what seems like a previous lifetime. And I just love thinking about books, how we share picture books and how we can use picture books as tools to really encourage that social emotional learning that Sheila mentioned earlier.
Thanks, David. Marcella. Marcella is a first-time guest. Can you introduce yourself?
Gladly. So nice to be here amongst all of you. My name is Marcella Simpson. I wear various hats and have been part of the early childhood field since I was 18. That puts me at 35 years in this field. And I have a passion for social emotional development and supporting children, families, and teachers. And today I am going to wear my hat of Pyramid Model Regional Lead Coach in Western Massachusetts. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We're glad that you're all here. And the students are really curious about this, especially because one of our most recent episodes that we recorded, we actually interviewed kindergarten teachers about what kindergarten readiness really is. And every kindergarten teacher on the episode said they really only want the kids to come in with some social emotional skills. They don't need anything academic done before they get to their rooms. And all the things they mentioned was that kindergarten readiness meant some independence, some social skills, some emotional literacy. And it was really beautiful to hear that come from actual kindergarten teachers. So I thought it was a really great way for the students to learn more about what's important for us to do on the early ed lens to make sure that kindergarten readiness is what it's supposed to be, which is focusing on social emotional approaches to play and learning. So I guess, Marcia, you really said how passionate you were about teaching parents about social emotional learning. Can you tell the students a little bit more about what that work entails for you?
What that work is just a matter of sharing what I know, what I've experienced, what the children are experiencing, and being able to educate the providers, the educators, and giving them the tools that they can share with the parents, and the parents together, we can bridge together the parents and the children and the educators, and we can all get trying to have the child have a great start deal with the root problem. The problems are, not so much that it's a Band-Aid put on it, trying to find out exactly what is going on and addressing those issues, trying to teach children and parents ways to calm the child so they can hear you. They can feel that you love and you care and that they belong and that it's okay, and together that we'll get through it. So recently, with lots of help from my coach, Marcella, I've done a workshop on, it's called A Guiding Hand to Help. So my lead is about hope, the H for hope, the E for empower, L for love, and the P to partner. And that has been my motto that I'm really sticking by, that we have those things together, we can get the children back on track.
That's right. And the students have heard this from me, that the behavior is a communication. The behavior isn't something that needs to be fixed or squashed or addressed in an intense way. The behavior is a tool for you to learn more about this child and how you can reach them. So it's really nice for me to hear, and for the students to hear you thinking about that. Leecy, I know that you work with students in a really unique environment. Do you have questions for Marcella, Marcia, or David?
I was wondering how you deal with, behaviors like running away or biting in an environment like outside where it's so open.
Marcella, as a coach, if the teacher was coming to you with these questions, what kind of guidance would you provide?
That's a very good question, Leecy. And I think that no matter if we are outdoors or indoors, right, these kind of behaviors can happen. And as Sheila reminded us, it's a communication, a message that the child is trying to convey. So part of the pyramid model framework that I embrace is a tiered approach to behavior, to emotional and social competence. And at the very bottom of this tier, there is a level of universal promotion, Leecy, that talks about nurturing responsive relationships. And it invites us as educators to go deeper and get to know that child and understand where that child is coming from. And the more you have these powerful interactions with them, the more you will understand where these behaviors are coming from, what triggers them, and then you can start building the supports that are needed around it. So is it something that once you identify the triggers, why is this child biting? What factors are included? Then you would come up with strategies that you and your teams will all be consistently using with this child to build up the competence that he has. All children have these capabilities, right, of creating nurturing relationships with adults, of expressing, regulating, and experiencing their emotions, and also to navigate and explore their outdoors, their environments. So that would be something where I would start. Pay attention to the child. What is this child trying to tell you?
I think, that brings me right to this place when you talked about supporting the child. And one of the things that I find is most successful in classrooms that I spend time in is when a child is demonstrating big feelings or big actions, that an adult that is there to help the child regulate and to support them as they regulate. I mean, I think we often will say like, well, let's find a place for you to calm down. But removing the child from the space and leaving them to regulate their emotions alone is missing a step. Their executive function skills have not developed to that level yet. So for us being the regulators, it means that we need a significant amount of social emotional control ourselves to be able to expand that regulation and to be that model for kids and let them know that they're safe with us. It's a safe adult to make a mistake with, and an adult that will love you through whatever emotions that you are communicating through action. And that it's a lot of pressure on us, but I think it's the most important part of our work.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is, just remembering that they're trying to tell us something and not just getting frustrated or impatient.
Yeah. Yeah, Lindsay, I know you had a question for David because you use a lot of literature in the space where you are.
Yeah, David, I would like to know, what are some of the ways that you use books to help students emotionally?
It's a great question. There are so many ways that we can use books, and I would actually replace the word book and literature with storytelling, because there are so many ways that we tell stories, right? Especially when we're talking about early childhood education and all of the different kinds of literacies that we're engaging with, right? And I'm thinking about the outdoor setting that was mentioned earlier, and how books and stories give us, right, that language and these different vocabularies for identifying and expressing emotions. I guess if I was to use that pyramid that Marcella mentioned, I love the idea of like kind of this foundation. And I certainly think relationships are at that foundation level. I also think, to go back to this idea of communication, that especially for our youngest learners, starting with that ability to identify and express emotions. How do we do that, especially when a lot of our early kids, our youngest kids, are not necessarily speaking that much or not decoding text, right? I'm interested in the ways that picture books and storytelling provide multiple vocabularies for identifying emotions, right? Certainly labeling an emotion like angry with that word is one way, right? But how do pictures, how do colors, how do facial expressions, how does movement in an outdoor setting and play, that play that Sheila mentioned earlier, provide a way of finding a match for that vocabulary with the child? So thinking about how picture books kind of provide scripts, but also provide these opportunities for practicing social awareness and relationship skills. What does play look like when there's a book when a book is involved? So I hope that begins to answer that question a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is through illustrations too at their primary age, you know. You can tell a lot from a picture.
For sure.
If I can-
Go ahead, Marcella. Yeah.
I love this storytelling, this narration, David, that you invite us to think of utilizing in our programs, at our center-based communities. And a very powerful tool are scripted stories, right? Stories that the children, the community of learners you are embracing can come with a story together. The day that David felt sad, and how the community of learners came and support him because they knew him and they knew his favorite toy, and they gave him a hug and they let him know we're here to help you. And those kind of scripted stories are available in many places. NCPMI, which is the pyramid model website, challengingbehavior.org, has many examples of scripted stories that you can tweak and use at your own needs for your community of learners. So I just wanted to add another powerful tool that you can add to this narration and storytelling, embracing a community and embracing all the learners.
That's a great resource for students and teachers to be really reminded about, and all of our providers, that these resources are there. You don't have to start from scratch with everything. And, it really makes me think about the social emotional approaches to play. And when we think about, as adults, we're regulating emotions to model for children and support them, we also need to play with the children so that they experience the give and take of emotions and opinions and play stories with someone that can coach them through anticipated conflict or just through joyous play. That our job is to be a part of the play too. Yes, we have to step back and observe, but we can be members of that play also. I know Leecy had a question.
Yeah. So what do you think that people mean when they say kids are resilient?
We've been talking about how this is kind of almost a dismissive phrase when you see a child struggling with big emotions or having facing trauma in their life, where they say they'll be fine, kids are resilient. So we're hearing that phrase more throughout the pandemic, and we're wondering your thoughts around, well, if kids are resilient, don't they still have big feelings that are valid? So we're wondering thoughts. Go ahead, Marcia. I think you have a thought.
I want to say that, yes, kids can be resilient. The way I see it is, how are they going to bounce back? How are they going to get through the difficulty or the situation that they're going through? How are they going to come out of it, which is so important? There's a seed that's been planted, and it's how are we going to help them to grow to again, getting to that root, and then really just getting it to flourish. How are we going to get them to where they need to be, where they're in a safe space, where they're in a safe space in their lives? And I think that with lots of time, consistency, giving them the right tools is going to be key. It's going to be key, and it's going to takes lots of patience. You can't just give up. It's going to take a while. What we've gone through, even with the pandemic, there's lots of children out there suffering. There's lots of adults out there suffering. So if they're suffering, you can imagine that the children have also seen and heard, and they have feelings. They're real feelings. And we can't say that just because they're little people, that they're little feelings, and it doesn't matter, because it does. And that's what it's all about, is just realize that they do matter, and their feelings matter.
This is an authentic portion of their life, and we can't always think of children as future adults and preparing them for what's next. They are in a valid stage of life that deserves our genuine respect and understanding. So I think we have to be careful when we hear dismissive language when it comes to children's feelings, because they are humans with valid emotions. And, Linsday and I have been talking about this a little bit. I got to observe at her program the other day. And she has a question about the resources that are available to teachers. Do you want to ask that question, Linsday?
Yeah, I was wondering what types of resources are out there to help teachers like myself support students in their social emotional learning.
Boy, if I maybe jump in to answer this, there are many amazing resources that you can find. There are resources in the website 0 to 3, targeted for birth to 3 years old, that are specific on social emotional development. Some really beautiful videos, some handouts that are easily printed in English, Spanish. They're trying to incorporate other languages as well, but now English and Spanish are mostly available. And then we also have NCPMI that I'm mentioning, pyramid model. Conscious discipline has a lot of resources as well. I am going to concentrate on pyramid model because the resources that we have in that website are, one, free. There are multiple languages that have been translated, and also because EEC has created this wonderful opportunity to provide the modules from pyramid model for free in their Strong Start learning platform, then you can be, as educators and teachers and students, you can be viewing these modules, and you can be also accessing the resources from NCPMI all for free. So it makes so much sense that you can hear somebody tell you and narrate the content and the why of things that are happening, and then the invitation of go to NCPMI, and there are the resources. Print them out, and now you have the why, the how, and you can provide that support to the children. And one thing I want to caution all of us that are using resources. They may look beautiful. They may look cute.
That's a dirty word in my class. That's a no-no word in my class.
Yeah, I stay away from that cute. It's a pet peeve of mine. But they're powerful. However, before you use them, you have to think the intentionality behind of why you are using this resource. Why are you using it? When are you going to use it? How are you going to use it? What are the steps that you are going to do? And not only you, but the team of teachers and the program where you're at, so the children are receiving this wonderful set of skills in a universal way.
That's so important, Marcella. And I love hearing about the resources that are free through Pyramid Model and supported through Strong Start. And I know Liz is not with us today, but she is, like Marcella, a Strong Start coach here in Western Massachusetts, and also very passionate about the Pyramid Model. And so for our viewers and my students, I'll make sure that all these resources that are discussed today are linked in the comments below the posting of this recording, because I want them to be easily accessible for all. David, tell me a little bit more about the programmatic resources that are virtual at the Carl and in person that support social emotional learning.
Yeah, so Marcella was mentioning, there's so many great resources and tools that have been created, and the workshops that we lead, which are in person and largely virtual at this point, through partners like Strong Start. We look at picture books through a number of different lenses, a number of different themes, and one of the ones that we've really seen an incredible demand for, it, especially in these last 2 years, has been a workshop called Little Books, Big Feelings, Picture Books and Social Emotional Learning. And it's a great opportunity to meet with fellow caregivers, fellow early childhood educators, and really share those resources and the incredible amount of experience and expertise that we get when we're all in a room with time to actually talk to each other. And I think, to go back to this question about resilience and children and why it's important, social emotional learning is important to children, and especially at this time where it feels like trauma and emotion is kind of at the forefront of so many conversations, not just early childhood education. And what I've noticed emerging from our workshops is this idea that this is work, this is knowledge that we need for ourselves. So we wear all these different hats that Marcella mentioned. We can't really talk about social emotional learning unless we're putting ourselves in these learning spaces as full human beings, understanding that we are bringing all of our own stress, all of our own resilience when we're learning with young people. And hopefully the tools that Marcella is mentioning, and certainly for storytelling, these are things that people of all ages need to survive, right? And you know, we say here at the Carl a lot, picture books are not just for children, they're for everyone. And I feel like that especially resonates when we look to picture books and storytelling for strength, for hope, for comfort, right? These are stories that we can connect with genuinely as adults. And when we can model that genuine, authentic kind of engagement with children, it does so much for literacy, and also, right, it's reminding us how we can be supportive, right? A lot of the stories that we tell, we're looking at them, how do I, as an adult, get ideas for how I can support young people through these stories, right? It's not just about giving kids the skills. These are lifelong skills. Social emotional learning doesn't stop, right? It doesn't stop at kindergarten. It doesn't stop at 5th grade. It's lifelong, and it's something that we never master, right? Hopefully we build those skills, but it takes that constant practice. So I know I've kind of gone on a tangent there, but I think what I really appreciate about these workshops is starting from this angle as humans who have our own stressors, our own ways of dealing with those stresses, and as genuine readers, right? How are we engaging in picture books in a way that is valuable for us, and that we want to bring kids into that joy as well?
I love that you talk about comfort and books as a comfort and relationships as a comfort. I know Marcella had a thought as you were sharing too. Go ahead, Marcella.
David, this resonates, comments are resonating with my daughter, who at 3rd grade was being bullied. And I absolutely love those social emotional stories that are just so key to have. And I went to my bin of social emotional books and grabbed the book, Bootsy Barker Bites. And we read Bootsy Barker Bites. And as we were reading it, my daughter and I were having these powerful conversations about what it meant for this little girl to be bullied by Bootsy Barker. And what came through all of that was strips of sentences that my daughter started writing. I will be a good friend. I will support others. I will stand for others. I will say good thoughts to others. 3rd grade, because of a book that was so powerful that we used as a tool. And as I was doing that, as we were working on it together, I was reminded of my own experiences and adults that, tend to bully us as well and many different situations. But books are powerful. And I think that the context you're bringing is use them as that tool to make those connections, to embrace and to also teach skills that children might be lacking.
Absolutely. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. I love this idea of kind of thinking about the books on our shelves and having a collection. And it sounds like you have certain books, right, that are labeled for social emotional learning, right? So that maybe you have those ready, or right, as an educator, you might have that set of go-to books that you pull out for certain situations in a classroom, or as you get to know your kids. Oh, this is a book that I think pairs with something that this child might already be thinking about or struggling with, or will just enjoy and find really fun. And I guess I've been thinking a lot about in these workshops about themes, right? Like we do go into quite a bit of detail kind of through the language of social emotional learning and certain skills and capacities like self-management and social awareness, and kind of using that as a lens for thinking about specific skills and how those are used or shown in certain books. And I think that's great. Like being able to be that specific about social emotional learning is great. I also want to say that I think regardless of content, right, regardless of the message or the story, a lot of the time, just the way that we engage in shared reading, as if we're asking open-ended questions, if we are really making space for kids to help tell the story, to use Marcia's language, we're giving ourselves an opportunity to find out what's going on with the kids, right? Yeah. So yes, books are scripts. Yes, they provide a vocabulary, but I think they also are great opportunities for invitations for kids to tell their own stories and create their own vocabulary, and are really great opportunities for practicing social awareness and relationship skills, regardless of the content of the book. If we're taking turns, if we're listening to one another, if we are clearly communicating our ideas by talking about what's happening in the pictures, the book really does become this tool with a lot of built-in rituals that kids know and are kind of ingrained that reinforce a lot of those social skills that we've been talking about.
It's true. And I'm thinking about the examples you're giving, and I'm laughing because I hear Marcella tell her story about what her daughter went through. My husband is a college athletic director, and at one college he had a team, a soccer team, and they were getting a lot of red cards, right? They couldn't keep their hands to themselves. And he brought in a bunch of my early childhood books and had the coach read the stories to the kids, the college children, and they were like, all right, we get it. You got us. But when we're thinking about tools, I know Leecy has a question for Marcia.
Yeah, Marcia, I was wondering what are in your help kits?
So it starts off with, first of all, there are lots of literature, different books. So what I've done is I had done a survey. And with the survey with the educators and different people in the community, families, the top 3 things that they needed, ready-made kit, which I have incorporated, and I'm getting out there, is anxiety, separation and divorce, and the other is let's see, anxiety and death and grief. So I've actually have done compiled some kits. There's the Guiding Hand to Help is the title of it. And for each one, there's different literatures in there. There's activities. There are some calm down tools that you can make, you can purchase. You can also have just some activities, exercise, some yoga. There are some books that my little people have actually written. They're little, and again, don't underestimate the little people. And they're talking about their feelings. And I love it because I present it to the parents. And some of them I've held on to. Well, so-and-so made me feel really sad. And it explains why they're sad. And you may not understand the picture, but underneath the captions written there, like what the child has said, how they solved the problem, how they felt. And these are so, I mean, I love books. But I love their books even better. It's even more important to me because it's their real feelings and what's really going on with them. And again, it gives them ways to problem solve. And so part of the kits, there are problem solving cards and solutions that not only that I was able to get off the internet or from Pyramid Model, but some of their ideas. And to me, that's more genuine. And those are the ones that are going to work because they've come up with them. So that's all right. Of that is a part of my kits. Yes.
That's beautiful. What an authentic purpose for having those discussions is having it come directly from the children. Having an authentic purpose for learning is just a real cornerstone of my personal teaching philosophy. So it's beautiful to hear that from you. This is the best conversation, but our episodes are truly itsy bitsy. So I do want to know, David, Marcella, and Marcia, if you have any final thoughts that you want to share with the students as they embark on the end of their semester student teaching and then become full-time workers in our field.
Yeah, I would love to just commend you for being here, for having this really great, intentional and purposeful questions for us so that you can take these conversations and reflect on your own practices and celebrate what you're doing already very well and what you can improve. This is a sentence that is really cliched right now, but I have to say it. Take care of yourself. Know who you are. Understand your own emotions, your own triggers, your own hot buttons, deal with it, learn those really great techniques to calm yourself so that you can be more present when you are in your classroom, right? We all are human beings, as we've talked, we're bringing all this burden, but when we are in that classroom, can we leave that behind? Can we be there for the children and validate their emotions, help them experience them with safe ways and nurture those relationships that they're so desiring to have in this time? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Marcella. Beautiful. David, do you have any final thoughts?
Wow, I don't think I can say much more than that. I just would just echo what Marcella said. I think that the work of early childhood education is, I don't know if there is a more important job out there. And it's often stressful and underappreciated. And right, because what you're doing when you're dealing with all of these kids' emotions, and it's a roller coaster every day, you're absorbing all of that, right? Yeah. So what Marcella said about taking care of yourself, although cliched, I think is absolutely true. And there's actually a lot of great research and data behind the ways in which teacher stress directly affects child stress and child outcomes. So yeah, finding those things that give you peace and calm and joy, both in your work and outside of your work, and nurturing those things so that you can help nurture our children, because you are doing it, and we cannot do it alone. I'm a parent, I cannot do it alone. The teachers can't do it alone. So supporting yourself and looking for those other resources, which it's been amazing to get from the rest of our group today.
Thank you, David. When you say that, it makes me think I met with a student yesterday who's going through a fair amount of stress, and the student kept saying, I'm a people pleaser. And I said, but you are a person and you need to take care of you. So I think that really rings true here today. Marcia, do you have any final thoughts to share with the students?
Yes, I definitely agree with Marcella, what she was saying in regards to taking care of yourself and validating not only the children's feelings, but validating your feelings. And it's funny because there are times when we have a calm down area. You know what? Excuse me, just for a moment. I need to calm myself for a moment. Just give me a second. And that's okay because you want to give your best. And the only way that you can give your best is if you take care of yourself. So I firmly agree that, yes, you've got to take care of you also. And sometimes I need reminders. I will admit that too.
That's really excellent advice. Leecy, Lindsay, do you have any last minute thoughts?
I just wanted to say thank you, you guys. You guys had some really insightful things to talk about, and I learned a lot just by listening and having this conversation with you guys. I wish we had more time.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. This was amazing, and it was so great. Thank you.
I'm so thrilled to be able to help you all make these connections. I'll be sure you're able to contact each other.
Yes.
And I will also be sure that the resources that were discussed today are available digitally for all of our viewers and for the students as well. Thank you. That was a beautiful episode for season 4 Mythbusters. And I think we did bust that myth that just because children are resilient, it doesn't mean they don't have big, important feelings. So thank you all for your insight and your time today.
Thank you very much. What an
Thank
honor.
you.
Thank you. Take care.